How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Skyrim video. Today is the follow-up to my previous video that I made a while ago discussing the case against the Vampire Lord. If you haven't checked that video out, you should. I think it's a great video. However, today we're going to do sort of the opposite. We're going to go over the case against Lycanthropy. Lycanthropy, of course, meaning like the werewolf ability type thing. And well, believe you me, there's a lot of things I can talk about when it comes to the downsides of Lycanthropy. The main one, and probably the most prominent one, is the fact that it's only really good for warrior builds. Like, yeah, if you're a mage, you can kind of use it, and you can definitely take advantage of some of its things. Like, for really anybody, just going in with a blind brute force is gonna be good. Although if you're a mage, it's not really complementary to your skills. And to a thief, it's the exact opposite of your skills, as a thief is supposed to be sneaky and kind of more calculated than just rushing in and tearing shit up. So really, 2/3 of the playstyles that you could use, like a mage or a thief type or assassin type, are pretty much excluded from its maximum capabilities, which I think is definitely a pretty big downside. You know, if you want to get the most out of it, you kind of have to be a warrior, which kind of sucks. However, another one of the downsides to it is a similar issue to the Vampire Lord, and that is it doesn't level very good. Like, yeah, if you play on adept difficulty, then you will dominate anything, anywhere until you level like 40. But if you play on an actual like fun difficulty, not to say that adept is wrong. I'm not trying to say if you play adept, you're stupid, you're a pussy. That's not the case at all. But for people who've played Skyrim for a long time, which is probably most of people, as the game's been out for almost a decade and a half now, in reality, people play on high difficulties now. People play on expert, people play on master, legendary. So on any difficulty that is not adept or below, it doesn't really scale very good. The first big issue is that when you're a werewolf, you're essentially naked, which, well, I mean, you are naked. You have an armor rating of 0, as well as the fact that makes you incredibly vulnerable. Granted, it does give you a considerable boost to your HP. However, that's not really good enough, you know? It's too easy to take damage, and the only way to heal is to kill something and eat its corpse, which you can only do once per corpse, of course. So if you're in a Bandit Outpost, let's say, and you're fighting like 6 bandits, which is not an uncommon thing, you know, if you run in, you'll probably get like anywhere from 1 to like 5 or 6 bandits at once. Yeah, you're kind of fucked if you have more than like 3, especially if they're like actual high level, like Bandit Thug, Bandit Highwayman. You're kind of fucked, you know, they're gonna do a lot of damage to you, and even if you do manage to kill one of them, which you likely will, you'll likely kill at least one, and you try to feast on its body to get HP back, well, you're just gonna get a face full of Warhammer, basically, because you're basically completely vulnerable to anything for like 3 seconds while you're healing. So it's not really technically healing, because the chances that you get away from it, from that long animation with a positive HP outcome, is kind of low. Unless you kill everything, and then you start feasting, in which case you will obviously get back to max HP. If not, you get pretty close. The one thing that the werewolf has for it is its incredible stamina and damage. However, it's kind of like the most extreme glass cannon like you could think of. Like I said, you have low defense, you have literally no defense, you have a decent bit of HP, but basically if you do not kill every threat, like within pretty much instantly, you are at severe risk of dying. And also, unlike the Vampire Lord ability, you can't just come out of it. You can't just stop being a werewolf. And especially if you actually eat the bodies, it prolongs your werewolf ability. So I don't know the exact timer, but basically, if you become a werewolf, the only way to go back to human is to wait in-game hours, usually like 3 or 4 or something like that. Unless you eat a lot of bodies, then you have to wait like a full day. And then once you come out of werewolf form, you kind of just can't go back in until the next day, which granted, in my experience, I've just gotten used to every time I'm done fucking shit up with my ability, I just wait 24 hours. That way I don't have to worry about the cooldown of the ability, and I become human again. So it's kind of like, you can do that, but if you play survival mode, you kind of just can't. You kind of just have to wait it out. If not, you're gonna face the risk of waiting several hours, and then when you're done with it, you'll have all your hunger drained, your stamina drained, all of that crap, and it's just a massive inconvenience. As well as, probably, I don't really consider this to be an issue, but a lot of people talk about this being a big issue. When you're in werewolf ability form, you can't loot. You can't interact with anything aside from like pulling a lever to open up doors or something. So you can't loot. Basically, you have to go through the whole dungeon, kill everything, then go back to human form, and then like walk through the dungeon a second time to loot everything, which is really annoying. And for me, honestly, I don't mind that much because usually I don't loot that much anyways, because in my opinion, Skyrim, money making in Skyrim is kind of like a solved problem. There's so many ways to make money, it's just ridiculously easy. So looting doesn't have as much value to someone like me as it used to. Like, yeah, it's good, it's a good source of money, a good source of soul gems, ingredients, potions, you know, enchanted items to disenchant. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. But I know a lot of people really do not like that. And I don't blame them. It can be pretty frustrating, especially if you're kind of like OCD about it. I used to be kind of OCD about it. Like I could not physically bring myself to leave a dungeon if I didn't loot every single container, every urn, every Draugr body, every tiny chest, every nook and cranny. But nowadays, I kind of just, not to be dramatic, but I kind of just lost my ability to give a fuck about the small things in Skyrim. Maybe that's just because I've obsessed over the small things for so long, but that's just the way it is. And I don't know if I already mentioned this, but yeah, it scales very badly. I think I briefly touched on this, but I'll go into more depth right now. At the beginning of the game, I have to admit, at the beginning of the game, werewolf ability is top notch for any class. Even if you're a hardcore mage, like at the beginning of the game, to be specific, at level 1 through 15, it's just ridiculously good. Bandits and bandit outlaws, Draugr, restless Draugr, they just get shredded without mercy. Just blindly. You don't even have to think. You just click, dead, you know? It's just ridiculously easy. Later on in the game, it kind of gets more complicated. You can't just click, kill, you know? You have to actually kind of think about it. You have to prepare. And a lot of the nuance of Skyrim combat kind of gets lost with this ability because, I mean, the only thing you can do is you can ragdoll enemies and you can attack. That's the only thing you do. And I guess you can use the howl ability, which, you know, scares them away and they start fleeing, but that's only effective on some enemies. So yeah, it's literally just ragdoll and attack. And first of all, that's kind of just fucking boring. I know a lot of people tell me that it's boring. I kind of agree. It's kind of boring. But also, a lot of the, like, incredibly useful things that can give you an immense edge over enemies, especially on legendary difficulty. Stuff like damage magic or regen poisons. That basically cripples mages. That's completely lost in the werewolf form. You're basically the mage's bitch because, you know, they're just going to dominate you before you can do anything to them. Especially if it's an ice mage, holy crap. There's just nothing you can do. You also can't sneak, you also can't use paralysis poisons, you also can't, like, chug potions, you can't use any shouts. When you're a werewolf, all the nuance, all the variance in combat form, just everything is completely out the window. It's just click. And a lot of the time, once you get to, like, the late game, that's not satisfying, but B, it's just not viable. Maybe early game, you can get a cheap kill on a dragon, which, I mean, I will admit, early game, getting an easy dragon kill with the werewolf form is actually hilarious, and it's so satisfying, as well as, you know, a cheap kill on giants or mammoths, but in reality, it's only good early game, and I think that really hinders its ability. But let me know if you disagree. Actually, please do let me know if you disagree in the comments. I like to discuss this shit with people. I know it gets pretty passionate. It's a passionate topic. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. If you agree, you can also let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you disenjoyed, leave a dislike. And yeah, subscribe and peace out.